Ahoy! And welcome back to another devlog. So let's have a little chat. Let's have a little theory talk about combat in a game. One thing that I find games do that I really don't enjoy is that when you attack and when other people are attacking you, they tend to just be like spinning around all the time. I'm not about that. I'm all about that historical accuracy. That being said, this isn't a combat simulator. So the main goal is to have combat that's more realistic than most other games, but still really fun to participate in and still looks really good and has really good feedback to the player. So in European weapons-based martial arts, one thing that's really important to understand is that when you... Actually, this will make it easier. So if you were fighting someone with, say, a sword on guard, when you strike at someone, essentially what you're doing is moving from one guard position to another. The strike is basically a transition between them. So we'll call this right up for simplicity's sake. From right up to left down would be a diagonal cut across the body. Right up to left up would maybe be like a back edge cut. I mean, it's a fucking water bottle. It doesn't have edges. You get the point. Any strike that we make, we want to be going from one idle stance or walking stance to another walking idle stance. And so by doing this, we sort of cut out the longer recovery time of the animation because you're going from here to here and you don't have to get back to this pose because you'll be in this pose already and ready to make another swing. So that's sort of one of the core concepts that I've been dicking with. We'll be able to see that in action. I did the button. And so when I go into combat mode by holding shift, if I attack, see, I end up in left up stance. And so each stance has a number of attacks that it'll randomly choose. So left up can go to right down, or left up can go to right up, or right up can go to left up. The combat and the animations sort of never repeat in the same sequence. So it ends up sort of feeling a bit more like a real fight rather than two people spamming the same combo over and over again. Check this out. So left click is a slash attack or your standard attack, and mouse up is a stab. I haven't done anything for mouse down, but I want to make it either a kick or like a unique attack that every weapon will have. Every third attack will be like a heavy attack or like a combo finisher. At the moment, you can chain any of them together. Even like at this early stage, it's fun to just sort of pick a tree or something and pretend that I'm fighting it and, you know, just go crazy. That's how attacking will work. The other things that I've added is dodging. So if you press spacebar while you're in combat mode, you will dodge in the direction that you were intending to go. So if you press it once, it's just a little step dodge. Mainly the step dodge will be used to take a step back once you've attacked. For example, if I attack and take a step back, it'll sort of feel more like real combat because as you're taking a step forward and attacking, they'll be dodging backwards, and so the fight will sort of go back and forth like a real fight would. The other thing that I've included is parrying. So if you right click, you'll parry. And so basically a parry, if you've played any melee game before, you have to time it well. It won't be like Dark Souls where you parry and they get stunned and you get a free shot at them. It'll be more like Mordhau where you parry them and their attack does nothing and you can riposte. Aside from just step dodging like this, if you double tap space, so within like a 2 millisecond window, you do a dodge roll. So you'll get more iframes, but at the cost of being locked out of committing any actions for a bit longer. It's more of like a last ditch attempt to get away from an enemy. So this is what attacking with a one-handed sword or weapon looks like at the moment. Essentially what we do is when you press attack, jumps over to here, there's a branch that checks you are in combat mode and not doing any of these actions. I thought it would be a good idea to do separate bools for every action because you know, there might be odd cases where you can do one action in the middle of another action. For example, attacking while you're jumping. So jumping isn't in here. So then it goes into an enum switch, enumerator switch, which says what type of weapon are you using. And I've just got some placeholder stuff here. If we're using the sword, that comes down here. Set some parameters at the start, so it sets you to is attacking. So this is important for another thing that I'll get to later. It resets the stance swap. So usually if you're just in combat mode, you'll just randomly swap stances between 3 and 8 seconds, just for a little bit of variation, you know, while you're circling your opponent and stuff. It sets what the yaw is, so your world rotation when the attack started, and it sets your position when the attack started, and it set where your mouse was looking when the attack started, and then it fires off this event. So what this does is it makes you face the direction of your cursor, even if you weren't rotated that way yet. So if we jump back in the game, for example, if I'm facing this way and I quickly click over here, he'll turn around, like quick smart. For the sake of fluidity, you don't turn instantly when you're in combat mode. So after all that spaghetti, we end up down here. So it'll take stamina, depending on what the weapon is and, you know, some stats and whatnot. There's a branch, just checks, is it your regular attack or is it your combo finisher? If it is just a regular attack, it goes into this enum switch, which says, are you in left up, left down, right down, and from there, play a montage. So if we're, for example, in left up position, and we go up here, random bool, because there's 2 possible attacks from that position. So we've got attack left up to right down, and attack left up to right up. This big jumble, it makes sense to me. As soon as the montage is played, it sets the stance and then comes down here and it sets the combo counter to be 1 more than it was before. Then when we start to blend out of the animation, that is when it sets attacking to false, because you can combo an attack during the blend out of the next attack. And then if you let the animation play the whole way out, so it is completed, it sets the combo counter back to 0. So if I go back into the game and we take a look, if I put it in slower motion, so that's an attack, that's about where the blend out is, that's where the blend out is. But if I do 2 attacks, for example, and then I let it blend all the way out, the next attack won't be the combo finisher. I just thought that would be an easier way of doing it, as opposed to setting heaps of notifiers in all the animations and stuff. It just makes sense that you can combo from the blend out of an animation. Alright, so that's how regular attacking works. The other thing that I've rigged up is a little system that queues actions. So if I press dodge or something in the middle of an attack, as soon as the attack is finished, it'll dodge. So, like that. So attack, dodge, and he does it straight away. And that works with any of the combat actions so far. So I can block and queue up an attack, or I can attack and queue up a block, or I can attack, queue up a dodge, queue up a block. And it takes the last input. So if I attack and then click parry, but then dodge, it'll dodge because that was the last input before the animation started blending out. Even if you panic a little bit, it'll still feel like the game is doing what you're asking it to. There's no sort of guesswork to when can I attack next? When does the dodge animation finish and I can attack? Which is, yeah, as I said, very important. So the next thing we're going to look at is the torso moving while you're attacking. So I've explained before that when you're moving or aiming, the torso moves before the lower body does because it feels a lot more fluid. So I can use those exact same values to set the torso to rotate while the is attacking bool is active. And if we jump into the game, you can see that if I put it in slow motion, while we're attacking, we're able to sort of redirect our swing. And that will just really help with keeping aim a bit more responsive. So if I was aiming at this post, but I clicked over here, but then I was aiming at the post, you can sort of correct your aim to a degree. And it also works with up and down motion as well, so the pitch of the torso. So if I aim down here, it stabs down there. If I aim up this end of the post, it stabs up. So that way you've got a lot more control over what body part of the enemy you're hitting, which will be really important. Right, so a little bug that I've run into, if my mouse is up here, and then I dodge roll and queue up an attack over here, it still attacks over there. So we're gonna find out what's actually going on with that, because it's really bugging me. All right, here we go. Let's speed this up. Let's see if I can do it within a few seconds. So I've figured it out. The problem was that we weren't getting this line trace information when we were dodging. So up this end, I've moved it to this check, which is the check to set actor rotation. So while we're dodging, we still get the mouse position information if we're holding shift, but we don't set the rotation of the actor. So, moment of truth. Let's dodge and attack there. Oh yeah. Ooh, okay. So it's worked out better than I thought it would. So when the queued action is played, it takes the position from where your mouse is when the queued action plays. So if I dodge roll and I click there, but move my mouse over here at the last second, it will attack over here, which is really nice because it feels a lot more responsive. All right, so I've sort of preemptively found a bug. On every frame, it does a trace from the hilt to the tip. But when the sword's swinging really fast, there ends up being these gaps in between them. And so imagine that you've swung at an enemy that's just about to die and their head is right in between these traces. The hit wouldn't register and you'd feel cheated. So I think what I'll do is, instead of doing it from the hilt to the tip, I'll do a trace point at the tip and a trace point at the middle of the sword. So imagine this is our weapon. If we swing it, it's here on the first frame, and we're going to do a trace from the previous frame's tip to the next frame's tip. So the benefits of that is that it covers the distance between each frame. And the other fun benefit of it is that we get directional information, because when we were going from the hilt to the tip, the only direction we were getting was that direction. It couldn't tell, okay, it's here and then there, you know, what direction was the weapon traveling. If we're doing it from tip previous frame to the tip current frame, then we get this direction. So we can use that to spawn blood particles in a direction, or we can use that to apply a force to like a physical animation in that direction. Let's go ahead and attempt to chuck that in. So fucking goddamn thick! Thickeroni. One of the most important things in a combat system is health. When you reach 0 health, you're dead. And when your enemy reaches 0 health, they're dead. The aim of combat in games is to reduce the enemy's health while keeping your health as high as possible. But being me, that just isn't enough. So what I've rigged up is a system that's similar to Kenshi or RimWorld, where we've got separate health for the head, chest, arms, hands, legs, and feet. And as they get damaged, different things will be affected. So if you get hit in the head and your head's damaged, then your accuracy will be garbage, or you might move slower because you're concussed. Whereas if your chest is damaged, then your maximum stamina would be decreased. So it's like getting winded or stabbed in the lungs or something. Your arms will contribute to things like your attack speed or like your strength stat. You do less damage and attack slower. Your hands would contribute to your ability to climb up walls and maybe your dexterity. And your legs and feet, you know, your run speed or your ability to jump and whatnot. The trade-offs for the player will be, where do I need to be heavily armored? What do I value the most? Do I trust that I'm not going to get hit in the head because I'm skilled enough and therefore I can go without head protection? Because if I'm wearing a proper helmet, I'm not going to be able to see as much and your dexterity's lowered. Do I need heavy gauntlets if I'm using a shield or something? Because if you're wearing a shield, you're very rarely going to get hit in the hands. Do I need heavy armor on my legs? Because what are the chances that I get hit in the legs? But on the odd chance that your unarmored legs get hit, your movement speed would be greatly impaired. They're just ideas at the moment, but that's sort of the vibe that I'll be going for. So another little system to note is that health is made up of temporary damage and permanent damage, similar to Exanima sui generis. A good way to think about it would be you have pain and you have injury. So if I use my little debugger, which selects a body part and damages it, you can see as things get hit, this increases a tiny bit. So your pain damage regenerates quite quickly, but your injury damage heals extremely slowly. Like I'm talking like to heal the entire thing would be an hour of game time. If you take a big blow to the head, you might be concussed for, 10 seconds and your stuff's really impaired. But after that 10 seconds, you're basically back at full capacity minus whatever damage you've taken to the head, injury-wise. It sort of blends the elements of really hardcore gameplay and that sort of Call of Duty stay in the action type gameplay. Alright, well, I'm gonna go to bed because it is 3 o'clock in the morning and I've just been working at this for way too long. My brain's starting to get a bit... Tomorrow, I think we're gonna get started on some really basic AI stuff. I've got absolutely no idea. So, yeah, I guess we'll see how we go with that. I'll do a bit of research while I'm in bed. I'll just watch some videos while I go to sleep and hopefully I absorb and retain it by the morning. Wish me luck for tomorrow.